right here.
Right. Okay. Let's get this party started, man. Check, check, check. Well. Look what the wind blew in tonight. Season's greetings, everybody. Welcome to Fishtrap Fireside. My goodness, this is the last fireside of the season. My name's Mike Midlow. Let's see, M-I-D-L-O. Program director here at, yeah. We'll try Juan Schneider next month. Fishtrap Fireside is a monthly reading series featuring local readers to share what they've been working on. And every month it's a blast because we get to hear what folks who live here and regionally are thinking about and writing down. I do want to thank all of you who are new to Fireside. Maybe this is the first time you've come, or maybe it's been a long time since you've been here. And of course, all of you folks out there watching at fishtrap.org or on Fishtrap's YouTube channel, we're super happy to have you here to enjoy the program. Here's how Fireside works. Each month we have 3 featured readers, and they get about 10 minutes to just share whatever stories that they want to do. This month it's a cornucopia of voices. I want to please welcome them because coming up here takes a lot of courage. So our first reader is not new to Fireside, but he's always been in the crowd. Our first reader is Larry Nall. And all the way from Baker City is our great pal Whitney Tayer. Welcome, Whitney. What's cool is Whitney also brought along Wallowa County homegirl Bodine and the Tayer brothers, which is, it's kind of a nice name for a band, Homegirl Bodine and the Tayer brothers. I kind of like that. And coming all the way from LeGrand is Nick Neely. Please make him feel welcome here. Right. And along the way, I'll get a chance to tell you a little bit about the exciting things coming up at Fishtrap this winter. So hold on, buckle in, and have a great time. Before we get started, it's important to note that December's Fishtrap Fireside sponsor is Wild Carrot Herbals. Yeah. They're right across the street. Treat yourselves to something special this holiday season. You know, you can walk across the street and get something that's handmade right here in Wallowa County, or you can go to wildcarrotherbals.com and get something for yourself too, and they make great stocking stuffers. So thanks, Wild Carrot Herbals. Afterwards, we'll take an intermission. It'll be short, where you get a chance to refill your cup, grab a few snacks, visit with some old friends and new, and then we'll come back for the open mic section, and that's where we have 5 short readings up to 5 minutes from folks who are sitting right here in the crowd. It looks like the list is already full, so it should be. It's always a surprise and always a blast. For those of you who are reading at the open mic, keep in mind that this is a general all-age audience. So if you're going to throw any swears out there or venture into certain just let people know what's coming and give them the option. Every once in a while, somebody will take a walk around the block, and that is very cool. They should be able to do that. All right, let's get to the show. Our first reader is Larry Nall. Larry and his wife Sharon, hi Sharon, packed up 2 boys, 2 horses, 1 dog, and moved from Central Oregon to the old Shin Place on Hurricane Creek 35 years ago. Their forest inventory business gave them the opportunity to pack into the wilderness areas in Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, and make a living doing work that was adventurous and just plain fun. Now, the last of the horses has been laid to rest, the hikes are more modest, and they've entered the realm of gray hairs who think a hike to Slick Rock is a big day. Welcome, Larry Nall.
And Mike, your skill at recruiting, I have to say, is phenomenal. I never thought I would ever agree to this. Moving slowly up the trail, Cow Creek gurgling steadily at my side, the sky dark and ominous, I take one more furtive glance behind me to the southwest horizon. The horse is unconcerned. She associates Tryon Ranch with lush spring grasses, and she knows where this trail ends for her tonight. The mule's happy if the horse is happy. The first snow swirls in shyly from behind us, and as the wind picks up 2 notches, the yellow flags in my cerebral cortex pick up 3. Hat pulled as low as it goes, collar hiked as high, we move on toward the fingerboard saddle. There's nothing shy about the snow now. It changes directions once, twice, 3 times before restlessly settling. This December, we may be too late for a last ride to the benches. The saddle is still 2,000 feet above us. Damn! As I reluctantly turn the horse around, she points her ears northwest and picks up the pace. I don't know when I traded blind adventure for prudence. We'd moved to Wallowa County with a couple of green broke mares. And over the course of a summer, we realized that green Central Oregon horses were just not suited for the Wallowas and Hell's Canyon. I'd broken a rib from a horse wreck in the high desert. In Hell's Canyon, broke may not be the verb that described the result of an inexperienced horse reacting to the sight of a blackened, dug fir stump, crouched like a bear, along a narrow trail with a 1,000-foot drop-off. So, our first replacement was an older mare from a Stanfield farm. This makes me laugh. We were so stupid. About as ugly a horse as you can find, and allegedly not easy to control, judging from the mechanical hackamore they rode her with. But the price was right, and she had a nice eye, so we brought her home. We switched her to a snaffle bit, and she rewarded us with a couple of years of rock-solid performance. When you can ride exposure without worry, and when you can put a 6-year-old kid on a horse for a week-long spring break trip through the breaks of Hell's Canyon, life is good. But then she went blind in one eye, and she was done. We found Rudy through a connection with someone's brother in Halfway. Yep, he was a gentle 5-year-old green broke horse, but big and lazy, and Sharon never did like him. So he became mine. And we went round and round over who was really in charge for 10 years. He had a disdain for anything faster than a slow trot and preferred to look around and enjoy the scenery. His stellar quality with safety in all caps. We finally found a great role for him at ranch camp where we could put a big green city kid on him moving cows, and Rudy then had the control he always craved. We found the best horse we ever had in Amnaha, a 5-year-old who'd been turned out every winter with a small herd who fended for themselves in the canyon. He was calm and wise beyond his years, so Sharon immediately fell in love with him, took Buck for her own, and I was once again looking for my ultimate ride. Since I was a farrier, I had an inside track on available horses in the county. A rancher outside of Joseph told me he might have just what I was looking for. He'd bought a red roan in Idaho to rope off of. 4 years old in Greenbrook, gelded late. The stallion on the bill of sale had been crossed out with a pen and gelding had been written in. But he wasn't quite fast enough for a roping horse. I walked into the barn around sunset one spring evening, and there he was, saddled and tied to a round corral. And the first thing I noticed was a muscular frame that would have no trouble on the steepest trails in the canyon. And he had kind eyes. We made eye contact, and I felt pretty good about what was said. So I climbed on, felt instantly comfortable, and with a slight back pressure on the reins and a little heel, I asked him to back up. We shot back like a rocket. And I think he would have backed all the way into town if I'd asked him to. I couldn't wipe the shit-eating grin off my face. I'm sure I was still wearing that grin when I unloaded Jackson at home for Sharon to take a look at. Just in time for a summer of packing into forest inventory jobs in the wilderness. But first a trial run, a week-long May trip into Tryon Ranch where he aced everything that we asked of him. I was on cloud 9. But this brings me to the subject of mules. By now we had a good one, Molly, a 5-year-old draft mule out of Imnaha. She'd had some bad experiences with the human race. And from her behavior, I'd narrowed it down to the receiving end of a 2x4 from the way she went wild when she laid eyes on one. But that big girl could pack. That first year, we hauled the wood stove, among other impressively large items, up the steep trail to the new Redmont hut. We just didn't haul any 2x4s to keep the peace. Fact, mules are a hybrid of a female horse and a male donkey. But a mule is more intelligent than either. This has been tested scientifically and shown to be true. We trailed out of Heaven's Gate bound for Horse Heaven Cabin in the Seven Devils. We'd borrowed a dependable, familiar old mule from Doug McDaniel to make the loads work because we were going to be in there several days to get some inventory work done in a remote part of the wilderness. At Granite Creek. After a long 12 miles, we pulled up to a quaint cabin with $1 million view and discovered why they called the place Horse Heaven. A 5-acre meadow of tasty, high-elevation sedges was the source for the exalted moniker. We put the horses into a half-acre of eating pleasure enclosed by our electric fence, let the mules roam outside the enclosure, and met the other party of horses and mules who showed up shortly after we set up at the cabin. And here we met a grizzled-up old packer out of Koosky, Idaho, who was the same age I am today, who brought his old buddy and son-in-law into one of his favorite destinations. He came up to the cabin to borrow some coffee because that was the one essential he'd forgotten to pack. And he seemed to be concerned with what kind of behavior his old buddy would revert to without a morning pot. The son-in-law, a corporate-looking city slicker, had quietly told us earlier that his wife had sent him along to caretake her old dad. But it was obvious to us who was doing the caretaking. Down in the trees, they hobbled their horses and mules for the night, and we all settled in. We woke up before dawn, ready to head out to Granite Creek, Sharon and I. We loaded both mules with work equipment and other essentials for a 2-night stay and headed out, admiring the breathtaking ambiance of the Seven Devils. Everything was routine horse trip stuff. We made camp along Granite Creek, put the horses into the electric fence with good eating, let the mules roam because a mule will never leave her horses, and went to sleep under a star-studded sky. Another fact. Tests suggest that mules are smarter than horses. Why mules bond so tightly with their less intelligent horse mates rather than to another mule is a quandary. It was a nice sunrise until I only counted one mule. Doug's tried and true mule, who I'd gone on several trips with, was gone. Talk about an overload of thoughts running through my head, but the immediate issue was getting 2 days' work done. Maybe he'd come back. We were staying put for a couple of nights, but Sharon's face told me everything I needed to know when I walked back into camp that second afternoon. We were one mule short, and tomorrow would be a long ride back to horse heaven. So we did what we had to do. We loaded the mule's decker onto my green colt, hung a couple of bags from its rings, hoisted my saddle up as a top load. My first mistake was deciding to lead him myself instead of tying him to Molly's breakaway. I just didn't bring an extra 6 feet of baling twine to fix all the broken strings, much less the time. Before I could consider all the possibilities, he bumped his right bag into a tight tree. You'd have thought a bear leaped out of the lodgepole the way he jumped, and then he hung up his left one. Now, a seasoned pack horse weaves around those tight trees along the trail, but this was all new to Jackson. For about 20 minutes, he snagged trees left and right. He snagged them and lunged. On minute 21, all hell broke loose, and I was knocked flat when the 4-booger ran over me trying to get away from the boogeyman grabbing his load. And for the rest of the trip, I sported my first and only tattoo, a size 1 St. Croix hind heel and toe shoe, perfectly delineated in purple and blue on the right lower quadrant of my back. Thank you.
Every time. Hey, here are a couple things for your calendar. On Saturday, December 13, that's next Saturday. Yeah. Right here at Fishtrap, we're going to have Fishtrap's Artisan Marketplace. That's right, a place where you can get gifts for your family and friends for the holidays or something for yourself. We'll have a bunch of different folks here selling their arts. Stop by, say hello. It's going on during Winterfest, so there's a bunch of other stuff happening. I think Santa's across the street. Oh. And speaking of gifts, we've got a raffle going on here back at the table. What's going on with that, Jennifer? There are 2 fabulous prizes, a Wild Carrot Herbals gift basket. Awesome. And a Fishtrap gift basket, which includes a cool Fishtrap merch, plus a copy of the Fishtrap Reads book for this winter, The Bear. More on that later. Tickets are just $5 a piece, or $5 for $20. And at the break, you can buy some raffle tickets. It really helps us keep things going on here at Fishtrap, and it's fun. All right, let's go to our second reader. I remember where are you, Whitney? Hi, Whitney. I remember when Whitney moved to the county back in 2017, and it was like a love bomb went off in the community. She just has these rays of positivity and was everywhere all the time, all at once. And it didn't take long for Whitney to become Fishtrap's youth program manager, so we got to hang out a lot. Went through some stuff, especially the pandemic. But of course, love and life lured Whitney away a number of years ago, and now she lives in Baker City. So I figured the only way I could ever see her again is to invite her to read at Fireside. So let's learn more about Whitney. Whitney Tayer is an avid outdoorswoman, writer, a professional job hopper. She lives in Baker City, where she splits her time between wandering the mountains, doting on her dogs, and pretending she's not procrastinating. Yeah. Once upon a time, writing was Whitney's chosen outlet. These days, it mostly induces a healthy dose of existential dread. That happens to all of us, Whitney, which makes her participation in this reading an act of courage or denial, possibly both. Nature has always been her muse, the quiet trail and the wide horizon serving as backdrops for her reflections on human connection and the wild, messy beauty of being alive.
Hey, y'all. Y'all look good from up here. It's been a while. All right. Well, I'm going to get warmed up with a poem, and then I have a little piece for you. This is Tal Cuervo, Spanish for raven. Their little fingers moving like chimps, spreading my part open, pressing down the hair, waiting for the little silver ones to spring up to be plucked. With ready dollar store tweezers my friend had brought to the back of the 5th grade classroom. I was 9 when I found the first one, the proof I was my father's child after all, not adopted, like my mom was. He gave me Mexican blood that turns black hair gray before my first school dance. My friends turned it into a game to pluck the gray away. The way they watched their moms perform in their bathroom mirrors to hide the proof I was different, to make sure the boys would still like me, despite my freckles, despite my glasses, despite my yellow teeth, despite my height, despite my laugh. I would finally come to terms there were more than just a few. I let them grow, fill in the bald patch in the crown of my head, gritted my teeth in the mirror as they stood straight up at first, but in time they lay down, like all good girls do. A single streak of lightning and a head full of raven black hair, a truth that never asked permission, the mark of all the people who made me, a quiet inheritance I no longer pluck away. Thank you. And then I have a piece for you. It's a little different than something I've ever done before, so I hope you enjoy it. Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh. All right. A meditative prayer for friendship. There's a meditative practice in Buddhism called metta, a meditation of loving kindness. It's simple in form, but generous in spirit. You bring someone to mind and internally offer them goodwill. Over and over, a soft repetition of a series of well wishes, a kind of spiritual irrigation system sending water to the thirsty corners of your heart. It feels and sounds something like this. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be at ease. Lately, I've been thinking about how many different kinds of friendships live in these thirsty corners of my heart. How friendships arrive and dissolve and stay and surprise us. How they shape the evolving geography of a life. And so this is my own version of metta, a small prayer of gratitude and recognition of the friendships that have built me, baffled me, and held me along the way. To the childhood friends, the ones who knew me before I began to know myself, who swore allegiance to one another in the wee hours of the morning at sleepovers, who taught me that friendship is being brave enough to call on the landline kitchen phone and ask, "Can you play?" You were my first mirror, my first co-conspirator, my first rival over who got the bigger piece of cookie. To the ones who convinced me to put down a book and climb a tree, the ones who taught me I can do things scared, and the ones who let me be their copycat. May you be well. And may the secrets we promise to keep forever stay buried safely in the playground sand. To the friends of early adulthood, the ones who shared cheap apartments and cheaper meals and even cheaper beer, who stayed awake with me long past any reasonable hour while we tried to figure out what we were doing with our lives. You were my companions in heartbreak, resilience, and the noble art of making something out of nothing. To the ones I viciously chased down on snowboards, the ones who hold my best late-night bar stories, and the ones who endured mutating into adults alongside me. May you be well, and may your student loans finally, mercifully, rest in peace. To the coworker friends, you who learned the rhythms of my sighs, my eyebrow raises, my subtle attempts to escape meetings. We survived deadlines together, celebrated small victories, and exchanged that sacred workplace glance that said worthlessly, "This meeting could have been an email." Some of you drifted into the deeper end of friendship. Some stayed in the warm, familiar shallows of camaraderie. Both mattered. To the ones who were often more present in my day-to-day life than my own spouse, the ones who listened to my numerous complaints with the smallest amount of attention they deserved before teaching me the valuable lesson of, it happened, let's move on, we have work to do. May you be well, and may all your meetings end early, or at least begin with pastries. To the unexpected, late in life, or surprise friends, neighbors, trail companions, people I met by chance and later couldn't imagine my days without. You arrived not in the big cinematic moments of youth, but in the humble intersections of everyday life. You reminded me that connection doesn't expire with age, and that new friendship can feel like opening the door and finding the colorful second half of The Wizard of Oz when I thought it was going to be a lifelong black and white film. To the younger friends who remind me what it used to be like to worry about things I no longer find important. To my similar age friends that sympathize with the struggles of perimenopause, work demands, and marriage woes. To the older friends that helped me to realize death becomes more present in your later years and that it's natural and a survivable occurrence. May you be well. And may you keep sending me the photos, the memes, the wildlife sightings, and the half-thought-out messages that brighten like a morning coffee. To the friends of circumstance, the ones found through community groups, on river trips, or sheer proximity. Sometimes our conversations stayed on the surface. Sometimes they surprised us by going deep. These friendships may not have lasted long, but they softened the days they touched. They reminded me that even brief connections can be meaningful. To the ones that are now only in my memory as that one guy from that one trip. The ones who were the bridge to another job or another friendship. The ones I wonder if they would ever consider me a friend in the first place. May you be well. And may our small talk, wherever we meet again, be joyously awkward as we struggle to remember each other's names. To the complicated friends, the friendships that stretched me, challenged me, or ran their course before I was ready. Some of you taught me what I needed to understand about boundaries. Others taught me what forgiveness really means, towards you or towards myself. You reminded me that not all friendship is easy, but all of it is instructive. To the ones who always took that bigger half of the cookie, who always had to be first in line, or who always had to have the last words in a fight, may you be well, and may the lessons we gathered together carry us in gentler directions. To the enduring, anchoring, chosen family friends. You are the ones who have stayed or returned or held on through decades of distance. You have seen me reinvent myself more times than I can count, and never asked for an explanation. With you, conversations resume exactly where they left off, as if time were merely a suggestion. You have held my grief, celebrated my joys, and reminded me what it feels like to belong without performing. The ones who need no context to feel the weight of the story, the ones who can recharge this introvert's heart, the ones who ask the good questions even if they're hard questions, the ride or dies, the inner circle, the fam. May you be well, and may we keep finding each other again and again across every season of our lives. And finally, to myself, because metta always turns inward at some point, because friendship with oneself is often the most fragile and most necessary kind. I'm still learning how to show up for the person in the mirror with the same steadiness I try to offer others, to meet my own heart with less judgment and more patience, to the child version of me that didn't know standing up for herself was an option, to the adult version of me that is still very much a child, and to every tormented version in between. May I be well, and may I remember that I, too, am someone worthy of my own kindness. In traditional loving-kindness meditation, the circle keeps widening, from self to those we love, to those we struggle with, to those we will never meet. Friendship works like that, too. Every bond forms a point on the map of our lives, some bright, some faded, some only visible in certain light. Together, they create the constellation by which we've navigated. So in closing, to all the friendships that have shaped me, surprised me, steadied me, and sent me in new directions, may we be well. May we carry what was good. May we let go of what was not. And may we continue in all our imperfect human ways to meet each other with a little more kindness. Happy holidays. Thank you.
Thanks, pal. Oh boy, here we go. Couple more things coming up this season. Next month, the Fishtrap Reads, sometimes usually known, often before, formerly known as The Big Read. Fishtrap Reads, we're all independent now, returns January with the goal to inspire everyone to read a great book together as a community and talk about it. We spend a lot of time trying to figure out what those books are every year. And hopefully this one will resonate with all of you. It's called The Bear by Andrew Krivik. It's a fable about a 12-year-old girl who finds herself alone in the wilderness, and how she practices the skills that she learned from her dad. I think that's really going to resonate with the people of Wallowa and Union counties and all over. She's very resourceful and makes her own shoes and food and hunts and fishes, and eventually a bear befriends her. It's a beautiful little tale, and we're going to have 3 weeks of events and discussions surrounding the bear in both Wallowa and Union counties. And you folks, wherever you are out there in internet land, you can join in too. And then there's going to be, the kickoff is on the 9th, January 9. Keep a lookout for what's going on there. And the author, Andrew Krivik, who lives in Boston but spends most of his time in New Hampshire, we invited him to come, and he's going to come and be here for the finale on the 29th of January. I talked to him today on Zoom. He is very excited to come here. He said, is there any time to go fishing? Will anybody take me steelhead fishing while I'm here? So if any of you want to take the author out to catch a Wallowa River steelhead, let me know. But Andrew, if you're watching, we can't wait to have you here in Wallowa County next month. So that's the bear. Thank you. We also have a couple cool workshops coming up in January. On Saturday, January 17, it's a couple hours, mastering magazine submissions. If you've ever wanted to get published in a magazine, there's this guy named John Sibley Williams who's going to teach a short workshop, I think it's 2 or 3 hours, on how to submit your work for magazine. It's based on poetry, so if you have poetry you'd like to get published, check that out. And on Tuesday, January 27, dig this. These days, as you read the news, how people just very subtly can change the meaning of something with one word or two. Our great friend C. Marie Furman is leading a morning workshop called The Power of Articles, how a, an, and the can shape our perceptions. What is the difference between a crisis and the crisis? You know what I'm saying? So even the smallest things, check that out. C. Marie is one of our favorite people of all time, and she is wonderful. Thanks for listening to all this news. What you want to get to is our next reader. Our next reader, we've had a great relationship with Nick Neely because he runs the MFA, the Masters of Fine Arts program in creative writing at Eastern Oregon University, and part of their program is to attend Summer Fishtrap. So we get students from EOU coming to Summer Fishtrap every year, and it just makes the week better to have the infusion of these folks, and Nick too. So I thought it'd be fun to have Nick come and read. Listen to this. Nick Neely is the author of the essay collection Coast Range, a finalist for the John Burroughs Medal for Natural History Writing, and the travelog Alta California, an LA Times bestseller, detailing his 12-week trek from San Diego to San Francisco to retrace the first overland Spanish expedition through that territory. Well, that sounds great. He is the recipient of Penn Northwest Boyden Wilderness Writing Residency, a UC Berkeley 11th Hour Food and Farming Journalism Fellowship, and an American Association for the Advancement of Science Journalism Award. He teaches at EOU and directs its low-res MFA program in creative writing with a special concentration in landscape, ecology, and community. Welcome to Wallowa County, Nick Neely.
Thank you, Mike. Sorry, that bio was a little less personable than the others. I should have known. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks to Mike and Shannon for the invitation. I realized driving over here, I haven't been here since July during the gathering, and so my presence here is overdue. I'm going to read a kind of bizarro spoof, I'm afraid to say. This is an homage to Annie Dillard's famous essay, Living Like Weasels. Have any of you read that piece? I'm going to read just the first paragraph of that to give you a taste of it. And I also brought 25 copies of it, which are over on the furniture next under the t-shirts over there in case you want one on your way out. You can also just Google it, Living Like Weasels. She wrote it in 1974 before Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, her Pulitzer Prize winning book, came out. I'm sounding like a teacher. I'm so sorry. And I'm sorry for myself. It's channeling one of her great mentors, inspirations, Thoreau. And this little spoof came about because I taught a intro to literature class in which I ill-advisedly, over 10 weeks, reread Walden, along with critical articles and some contemporary essays, such as Living Like Weasels, that were inspired by it. And at one point, I told my students, I'm going to write an essay called Living Like Woodchucks. And today was the last day of class, and I'm pleased to say that I for better or worse, I accomplished that goal. So here it goes. Actually, no, first, I'm going to read the first paragraph of Living Like Weasels by Annie Dillard. A weasel is wild. Who knows what he thinks? He sleeps in his underground den, his tail draped over his nose. Sometimes he lives in his den for 2 days without leaving. Outside, he stalks rabbits, mice, muskrats, and birds, killing more bodies than he can eat warm and often dragging the carcasses home. Obedient to instinct, he bites his prey at the neck, either splitting the jugular vein at the throat or crunching the brain at the base of the skull, and he does not let go. One naturalist refused to kill a weasel who was socketed in his hand deeply as a rattlesnake. The man could in no way pry the tiny weasel off, and he had to walk half a mile to water the weasel dangling from his palm and soak him off like a stubborn label. So hopefully that'll compel you. Hers is a work of classic literature, and I'm afraid this is not, but so here we go. Living like woodchucks. A woodchuck is woolly. Who knows what he thinks? He dozes in his underground den, his tail not quite reaching his nose. He slumbers all winter there, not just 2 weaselly days, living off his delicious fat reserves, and only leaves when he fails, at last, once again to see his impressive shadow. He slumbers on and on. Outside, eventually, he dozes in the sun. He stalks vegetable matter of all flavors, shadbush, carrots, bean fields, killing more plants than he can possibly consume and often leaving the limp green carcasses where they fall or pulling them partway into his glorious earth hole like a dragon. Obedient to instinct, he bites his prey at the neck, I mean the stem. One naturalist thought of killing a woodchuck when it crossed his path, quote, felt a strange thrill of savage delight and was strongly tempted to seize and devour him raw. That naturalist's name was Henry David Thoreau. What he didn't know was that the woodchuck thought of seizing him too and holding on to the heights of eagles. And once, says no one in particular, I should also say, if this makes no sense, it's because it's a riff on Annie Dillard allusion, so bear with me. And once, says no one in particular, once a man must have shot a weasel out of the blue. He examined the weasel and found the tail of a young woodchuck firmly lodged in its gut. The supposition, is that the weasel ambushed the woodchuck and tried to swallow him entire. But the woodchuck, some of him at least, curled up in the dark den of the weasel's stomach, thinking it a burrow, but not ultimately understanding or caring about the difference, Gradually he dissolved, but his tail remained, a talisman of hoary resolve. I would have liked to have seen that weasel a few days or weeks before he was shot. Just how badly was he constipated? Or did the weasel quickly digest all he could, bending his felt body, trying to pass this golden fur, cleaning those beautiful, stocky, subterranean bones? I have been reading about woodchucks because I've been reading Walden. I startled a woodchuck in a sentence that startled me, and we exchanged a long glance. Quote, "Not that I was hungry then," Henry pens, "except for the wildness that he represented. Whenever I see a groundhog, those are my thoughts exactly. I'm not terribly hungry." 2, I've been reading about weasels via Annie Dillard, who read a lot of Thoreau, and I've been wondering, why weasels, Annie? Is not a woodchuck a noble animal fit to emulate? Does not the groundhog also teach us, quote, something of mindlessness, something of the purity of living in the physical senses and the dignity of living without bias or motive? So, weasels have it easy, man, at least as they're portrayed. They're all cunning, quick twitch, athletic. They may be villains, but they're romantic or romanticized. Their poop smells to us of wild roses. I've seen them on riverbanks. They wash in and out of cobble and into willows like a wave with a mind of its own. They tunnel swiftly through snow. They are the stuff of children's books, of fairy tales, though obviously they would gouge your eyes out and eat the gelatin if given the chance. Woodchucks, meanwhile, are grounded, methodical, wary, vegetarian. They are sweet peas and wouldn't hurt you unless cornered. They are described as slow, as round. One worries they have been made to suffer body dysmorphia. No one considers the woodchuck, not even truly Thoreau. He writes little about them, though he does confess to tasting one. Quote, "My enemies are worms, cool days, and most of all woodchucks," he quips. They raided his bean field. The woodchuck is the foil to our predatory and agrarian instincts. They are not our pinup animals, just humdrum whistle pigs, rooting under our veritable garden sheds and trundling past the compost pile of the subconscious. They are second fiddle. Not so. With their sharp claws, they dig burrows up to 66 feet long. You know them by the heap of pale earth at their entrance, the quote-unquote porch from which they survey and look proud, regal in a handsome graduated fur, a paw tucked elegantly to their chest. There's a rear burrow entrance too, this one incognito, an escape route, which is very clever. The woodchuck's eyes, ears, and nose are at the top of his boxy head so that he can rise like a periscope from the earth and see his enemies, smell his beans, or hers. Yum! Few noses twitch faster than a woodchuck's. They also climb trees for delicious greens, so watch out. They give a shrill alarm whistle that, as with marmots, their close cousins, will scare the bejesus out of you if you're too close. And then a series of low warbling chucks, from whence they get their names. With their fearsome front teeth, they gnaw on underground electrical lines on occasion. That is so badass. And by way of their burrowing, they collapse driveways and brick walls, undermine foundations, and perhaps whole civilizations. We will see. Then there is this fact. It's weasels that adopt the burrows of woodchucks. When Annie Dillard dreams of curling up like a weasel in a den, quote unquote, quote, blinking, licking, breathing musk, my hair tangled in the roots of grasses, she's really dreaming of the redoubt, of the groundhog, of his ingenuity and prowess that enables others to live. They are the foundation. Weasel out of that. On to the last section here. Henry missed his chance. Annie, too, though she did muskrats super well. But I am going for the groundhog's butt. I will lunge for that sexy streak of short tail and hold on through bramble and bean fields and conquered backyards as he races home to his dirty porch. Down with the woodchuck is equally a good place to go, down where the mind is rodential. The thing to do, I say, is to stock your vocation with a rapid mastication, to locate the most tender and live shoot or sprout and plug into that sappy pulse. This is yielding, not fighting, and it is fighting the farmer's yield. Discipline is the groundhog's essence, his very nature, as is clear from his serious, fusspot countenance. But a woodchuck doesn't get too attached to anything. A woodchuck lives as he's meant to, whistling at every moment to the perfect freedom of the non-entity we imagine. His limitation is limitless. Seize that and let it seize you. Let your fat, musky flesh fall off in shreds, and let your very stout bones unhinge and scatter. Your bowels loosen over endless bean fields and woodlots, lightly thoughtful, from no height at all, from as high as woodchucks. With apologies to Annie Dillard. Thank you.
Wow, this was a good one. Thanks everybody for coming out. We're going to take a break. And if you thought that this was a fun night out, worth your time getting off the couch, same with you folks out there who are on your couches. Think of Fishtrap in your end of the year giving. It really makes a difference. It helps us create programs like this that are free, and Fishtrap Reads, etc. Buy a few raffle tickets, shove some cash in the fish on your way out. If you don't have cash, there's a QR code, and you can, however that's done, you can donate that way too. So anyway, we're going to take about a 10-minute break. I'm looking at the list of open mic readers. I hope most of you can stick around because I think this is going to be a memorable one. Get a snack, talk with some people, and we'll see you in about 10 minutes.